Good morning, everybody. I thought I'd just like to comment a little bit further on last night's video and other videos that I saw yesterday. First of all, I am working on my new cookery video, how to prepare cheese on toast, which should be an absolute epic. I'm sure a lot of you will be looking forward to that. And if cheese on toast goes well, then I might even make it beans on toast with an egg on the top. Then that really would be exerting my culinary skills, but you never know. I might just manage that. As you can see, I've got my hoodie, the Salvage Yard hoodie that Mark very nicely gave me while I was in Oz. So let's start off with Mark. What a great host. Like I've said before, everything about the trip, every minute little detail taken care of, from the flag that you saw behind Erekose. That was an idea that within an hour had come to fruition, and Mark had already got it to the printers and we collected. I must admit, we discussed the business cards idea, I would say probably about a month before the trip, and initially I'd said flyers, and Mark said, well, actually, you know, think of the weight, be better to have like a nice business card, and I think you'll agree that's exactly what we've got. A really nice card with Making a Murder on the front. You turn it over and I'm sure you can all see that quite clearly, and that was getting handed out big style at the Enmore Theatre. It was interesting how many people wanted to have their photograph of them with the banner. The banner itself actually took a couple of minutes to design. I think Erekose initially wanted something like justice and freedom for Steven Avery, Brendan Dassey, Teresa Halbach. It was going to be a bit long-winded. We wanted the hashtag work with KZ. So in the end, I think the majority decision was the right decision to simply go with free Steven Avery, free Brendan Dassey. Although, of course, that was another thing for the dude to mump about. No, I am joking. Look, seriously, folks, we kid around no end. We are like two kids. We just absolutely love winding each other up. And as I said to him, you know, it gets even better when you start retaliating the way that you did, the way that he does. So just you know, please rest assured, we are the best of buddies. We had to share the same apartment for two days. It felt at times as if I was the father looking after the little child at times. Had to feed him because he was incapable of feeding himself. All he wanted to do was get his computer set up so that he could do his live chats. But you know, that's the dedication of the dude. What can I say about Erekose? He's just, you'd have to meet him to believe him. He really is one of these larger than life characters. He's got this personality about him that you just want to spend time with him, chatting away with him, just having a great time with him. Stacey, what a remarkable fella. Again, another person I could spend hours chatting away with. We probably did. Great inspiration. Dude, whether you want to take up the challenge or not, bear in mind, it's not just me that's inviting you. Okay, the invitation came from me, but it's not exactly from just me. Okay, that's all I'm going to say on the matter. Ali, your t-shirt, I have no idea what's happened to it. I brought the matter up with the dude whilst we were in Australia, and he said yes, it had been sent. However, I don't know what's happened since. Certainly Erekose was supposed to have sent you a t-shirt. We got the size and everything, and I think we got the colour and the size sorted out for you. However, I did notice in one of the lives you mentioned that you liked my Foo Fighters t-shirt. So all you need to do is just reply with a yes, no, would you like it? If so, I'll send it you. It's just recently been washed. I will iron it and send it off to you if you would like that one. It was one that I got when I saw the Foo Fighters live in, I think, 2002 in Newcastle. But it's a really good quality t-shirt. It's a Fruit of the Loom t-shirt, which I believe is the Burton's make, which means that it's actually the same as the original Control Question t-shirts. The idea of the doing a 24-hour live chat is very, very exciting. I don't think we need to wait too long to get that done. Personally, I would suggest somewhere around about the end of this month, you know, whilst it's still fresh in everybody's mind. I would just add that if the so-called guilter, Falcon, I agree with Stacey. I think he doesn't realise that he's not a guilter, he just likes to pretend that he is. But Falcon, if you want to do a bit of chat with me, then you will be made welcome, okay? And you could then present your narrative as to what happened to Teresa, because I think that would be quite interesting. Be prepared, obviously, for people to poke holes in that particular narrative, because if it's basically agreeing with what Ken Kratz presented at trial, bearing in mind, you know, there's a lot of people out there that can see straight through it. Yesterday, for example, I had a new pupil that's been coming for about a month now, but the father had recently watched, literally the week I was away, watched the first 10 episodes and was on to the first episode of the second series. Everybody that I speak to, I have never, ever come across anybody here in the UK, Europe, that's ever come to me and said, I think he's actually guilty. And you wonder why that is. And it's not just through this documentary, Making a Murderer, which didn't leave anything out. It was completely unbiased, fair, straight down the middle. It presented everything. Anyway, enough about that. So as I say, if when we do the live chat, the 24-hour MAM-a-thon, as it's called, yep, you're welcome to come on and chat. And often this is the case, of course. When, for example, I used to have my chats with Sheriff Herman, we didn't just talk about the case. We had other things that we chatted about, you know, such as I mentioned how many kids I'd got, and he said, you know, I'm surprised you've got time to do any music, you know, and just little things like that we exchanged certain pleasantries about, you know, how beautiful Scotland was, and I say it wasn't just all about the case, so I'm sure that we can discuss other things as well. So I'll just put that out there. I think that's more or less everything I wanted to say. As I say, other than the fact that when it comes to our host Mark, as I say, absolutely fantastic time. Everything planned down to more or less the last detail. It was his daughter that had arranged for us to meet in the Duke of Enmore pub before the Enmore Theatre show. We extended an invitation to Laura and Steve and David Rudolph to come and join us, but they weren't able to because they had apparently sound checks and all that kind of stuff to do. Interestingly, I sent Steve Drizzen an email, and he replied with, "What are you all doing here?" I said, "Well, have you got a week?" in my reply. But my short answer to Stephen Drizzen, "What are we all doing here?" We were all having a really great time of it, and enjoying ourselves. Great banter, as you can expect. Every single time the dude got in the car, within 20 seconds, you got the beep, 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 and we all shouted, seatbelt. Every single time. Stacey reckons there was a couple of times when that didn't happen. I certainly can't remember them. It must have been on other trips that happened. One funny thing that did happen though was that on the when we arrived on the Thursday morning in the Millers Point area of Sydney, Mark realised that he'd gone and left one of his bags back at the ranch, as it were. So on the Friday morning he had to go all the way back up and get his stuff and come back down again, and I think he did one or two other bits that were quite important at the time, like vote. So he left us unattended for the morning and the early part of the afternoon, which was interesting, because certainly the Palisade next door opened at midday, and between 10 and 4 there was like a happy hour on, I think it was the Hawke's beer, and we did. The dude and I had a couple of beers while he was doing his live video chat, which he did, as I say, from the kitchen area. As I say, I had just fed him. I had to go and get these special, you know, the big like pop noodle type things, big bowls that you fill with water. You stir them up, and a couple of minutes later, and he really enjoyed like a shrimp soup. That was actually the shop where I went in with my Control Question T-shirt, and the guy at the counter said, "Oh, how's the case going?" And I said, "Well, pretty well actually. It's developing nicely. Hopefully we'll have some news in the not too distant future about what Judge Flowers decides is going to happen. Whether she just refuses to acknowledge any wrongdoing by the state and have a hearing. I mean, what should happen, of course, is that you know, it's a violation of Wisconsin state law to destroy, in effect, to destroy the evidence by handing it over. That apparently should automatically trigger a retrial. So if you're going by just the basic, here is the law, however convoluted it is, and my God, doesn't it seem to be very, very convoluted. As Steve said, they're very quick and easy to get you inside. See, when it comes to trying to get you out again, when trying to show that you're innocent, just takes forever and ever and ever. Which is, I suppose, one of the reasons why I would like to see and hear the, dare I say it, a little bit more aggression, a little bit more. I've sent one or two people the video of George Galloway coming before the Senate and speaking to the top senators about the Iraq problem when he got hauled in front of them, and he tore shreds off them. I remember at the time thinking, you know, they thought they were just going to get him in, and he was just going to apologise. He let rip on them, and I don't think they ever forgot that. They certainly didn't invite him back again, as far as I know. Another interesting thing, I sent this morning a video to Steve Drizzen. Some of you will be familiar with the work of Derren Brown, and I don't know why it hadn't occurred to me earlier, but he did a series of programmes that were aired here, certainly here in the UK. I think they were called The Experiment, and one of them was where he actually convinced somebody that they had committed murder, to the extent whereby this fella actually ended up going to the police and confessing to saying that he thought he'd murdered somebody, and it was all just a setup, and it was all to do with, you know, how easy it is to manipulate people, and this was a, you know, this wasn't a 16-year-old Brendan Dassey that they were dealing with. This was an adult, a fully functioning, normal, reasonably intelligent person that they managed to convince was guilty of murder. Well worth checking out. Okay, I might even pop the link in at the bottom. If I don't manage to put it at the end of the video, rest assured I'll add it in the comments below. Anyway, it's a bit chilly here in the Borders, so thank you very much, Mark, for the hoodie, and just thank you for everything. It was absolute pleasure. A lot of people have asked me since I've got back, what was it like in Australia, and I said, well, it was brilliant. You sat there, you watched films, you got fed, you sat on this plane that just was an absolute dream. You slept when you wanted. You arrive in Sydney, and it's just like being back home. It's sunnier. Everybody talks with a slightly strange accent, but for people in the Borders, no stranger than going down to Hawick and listening to some of them speak, I can assure you. Anyway, that's all I've got time for today. Catch you again soon. Bye for now.